You know, it's another thing my granddad said too. He said, there's always somebody out there that would be willing to trade their life for yours right now. Got a crazy video for you today.
She's not yours, it's just your turn. A woman should be a complement to your life, not the focus.
Do the work.
Women do not care about your struggles. They hang out at the finish line and they pick the winners.
What's up, my brothers from another mother? A little bit of a different setting for you today. It's coronavirus lockdown. I thought I'd go for a stroll and take it outside. It gets kind of stuffy sitting inside for too long and wanted to get out of the house, get some fresh air. I wanted to talk today about "This Too Shall Pass," as the title does suggest. Concept, I actually got this from my father, who learned this example from his dad, my granddad, who was a very tough, resilient man. Traveled pretty much most of the world with the Royal Air Force throughout his career. And, you know, it's funny, my dad never mentioned anything to me about this concept of "this too shall pass," you know. And I came to learn this around 23 or so. I started applying it to good times and bad. And we're in a time right now where we've never really seen it. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my life anyway, where we've got conditions where people are, I mean, there's a supply problem and there's a demand problem. There's almost no demand for commerce right now, especially in some sectors. There's also, supply issues in some areas as well. I wanted to have a conversation about resilience and mental toughness and moving past stuff, because I had to learn this a really, really hard way with a oneitis scenario in my early 20s. My folks were living in England. I was just back from a trip. I think it was a summer vacation. I was living in Toronto, well, more specifically the greater Toronto area, and my two younger brothers and my parents had sold the house and relocated the entire family over to the UK, because that's where they felt more comfortable. It was around the time of shitty economics in the late, I think it was 88 to 90 or so. So quite a while ago. I went out and visited them for the summer. We did a couple weeks, I think, out in Greece. We went to either Santorini or Crete. I think it was Santorini. I came back. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I came back, and I figured when I got back, everything would be as is, on par. But you know, you go away for a couple weeks, and it's a real test of how things are or can be in a relationship, or that you call a relationship at that time. So I came back. I found out she ended up cheating on me with some dude from her co-ed baseball team, and had really, really bad oneitis. Ended up breaking up. I can't remember if it was over that or something kind of tied into it, but anyway, got dumped. Felt like crap. Basically locked myself in my room without even knowing it, almost like a self-quarantine. But I'm going to say the most painful thing, aside from when I had appendicitis. I remember I had to drive to a walking clinic because the pain was so great before they sent me to the hospital. I was basically lying on the ground, but it was pretty unbearable. But it was more like an emotional pain, the oneitis that I had. And for those guys that are newer to the channel, might be coming across this video. What is oneitis? It's when you have an unhealthy attachment to one woman that you deem or determine is your one, or potentially the only one. So came back, fell apart, had oneitis, had really bad, basically really bad oneitis for at least a couple weeks. And I remember having conversations with my folks. Mom was, of course, worried. She wants to coddle you, come over, book a flight to come over and coddle you, all that kind of standard BS. Dad kind of like, says, sit up straight and put your shoulders back, son, and everything will be fine. And he said to me, "This too shall pass." And he told me this great big long story, which is going to be, kind of moot to repeat, but you'll get the basic idea, with this video. But in good times and in bad, they always pass. I've completely forgotten about that moment. It was a moment where I was pretty much as depressed as could be, in a lot of emotional pain as you could be. And I've seen that a number of times in my life. I'm 46, I'm going into my late 40s, as the years go on. And I've seen attacks on my business. I've seen issues in the past with oneitis with other chicks, although not as bad. I've seen friends betray me, like longtime friends that I've known for 15, 16, 18 years. I can't remember what the total length of time was, but brought a guy into my business one time, and that was just a total disaster. Early 2000s, I ended up having to sue him and a couple of other people. But that was a very, very difficult time that I didn't think was going to pass. These are all times, by the way, where you lose sleep and you start to wonder if, a lot of guys start to wonder if life is worth living, so to speak. So you start to question a lot of your existence and your morals and your choices and your beliefs and all those sorts of things. And life is just a big shit test for men. It really is. You know, I've said it before on my channel, and nobody cares about your struggles. Nobody. You know, women will hang out at the finish line and they'll pick the winner. Society doesn't care about the struggles of men. They have a different set of rules for men versus women when it comes to many things, including, you know, family law, criminal law, HR issues, a whole bunch of things. You know, you can go down the slew of it, but I'm not sitting here to try to be a victim. I really hate the victim mindset. I think it's a loser mindset. I wish more guys would unplug from the victim mindset and do more work on themselves and stop, you know, worrying about, you know, what women or society thinks, and just double down and, you know, do what they got to do. You know, it's difficult to get groceries right now. You know, when you place an order, 20-30% of your stuff is only available. The rest of it's not in the stores, but whatever, you know, you make do. You know, the smart guys should have, you know, kept a couple of months worth of tin food and, you know, have access to safe, you know, reliable water. I'm fortunate enough to have been prepared, although I'm not a prepper. I'm sure preppers right now are quite smug about the scenario that they're in, but I'm actually in a forest that's a bit behind my house, and there's fresh water that runs behind it, so I can filter that. I got lots of food in my basement. I'm a licensed gun owner, so I got plenty of stuff there in case things get really bad. But, you know, in bad times, fellas, you got to remember, always remember, it doesn't matter how bad it is, there's always somebody out there that would exchange their life for whatever crap you think going on right now is the worst that you've ever seen. You know, it's another thing my granddad said too. He said, there's always somebody out there that would be willing to trade their life for yours right now. You know, and he passed that message on to my dad passed it on to me. So I'm just sitting here kind of having a little heart to heart, you know, a little bit of a chat with you lads out there that might be spazzing out right now. You might be spazzing out over your job. You might be uncomfortable with, you know, prospects of recall. You might have instability in your relationship. You might have issues in your relationship. You might be suffering from oneitis. I guarantee you this too shall pass. There's very little that we can't overcome as humans. You know, we're the most successful species throughout history, you know, bear the exception of cockroaches probably, and a few very small bugs or molecules, amoebas, whatever, but you get my point. I mean, we're pretty resilient. You know, we've spread it all the way around the globe, from our, you know, our Batman origin story, so to speak, and you know, we've reached far and wide. I mean, you know, we've left a big impact on this planet. So a little bug right now, you know, here and now, isn't going to stop anything for you. A little heartbreak isn't going to stop anything for you. A layoff isn't going to stop anything for you. It's merely a test. Anytime an obstacle is placed in your path, it is placed there to test your resilience, to see if that obstacle that's placed between what you and what you want is really going to stop you from it, to see how badly you want it, what it is that you're going for. So, you know, with that being said, sitting out here listening to the birds sing, they give ZFG. Dogs barking, they give ZFG. There's the odd person, you know, walking by the pathway. They couldn't care any less. It's, you know, it is what it is, man. Moaning about it, sulking about it, it's not the right way to go about it. I see a lot of guys that like to sulk and moan and whine and complain, and it's not a winner's attitude, it's a loser's attitude, because, you know, like I've said before, nobody cares about your struggles. They just, you know, women, society, everybody basically will hang out at the finish line and just pick, promote, choose the winners. That's what it boils down to. So you've got to choose yourself. Maybe on that note, I'll wrap up and just tip my hat to James Altucher, who wrote a book at one point that I read a number of years ago called Choose Yourself. It's a great little piece. You know, if you're locked up inside, or you have nothing to do right now, or you're laid off, or you're heartbroken, maybe check that out. I'll put in the top pinned description, there's my Amazon store. I've got Choose Yourself in there under books. Lots of great reads in there. If you haven't caught up on some useful stuff that I think is imperative that all dudes should consume, go check it out. If you want to connect a little closer, I got my men's community. That's also pinned in the top comments. You can browse a few of the other things over there. Top Shelf Men, Chasing Excellence, working on becoming the 1%. Anti-fragility is really the key. This moment, this time right now, this test, if you will taste basically tests the fragility of you as society, as your household, your company, your relationship, all that sort of stuff. If you're not familiar with the concept of anti-fragility, that's a book that was written, I think, either 2009 or 12, but you can go look it up on Amazon. Nicholas, or what is it? Nicholas Talim Tasseb. I always get those names backwards, but you guys probably know what it is. That's also in the Amazon store. That's another good read. Basically, times like this will test you, man. And if you become stronger as a result of this, you know, if chaos is introduced in your life, in your relationship, in your business, in your layoff, in your financial situation, if chaos gets introduced into that, and you become stronger as a result of it, that's essentially the definition of being anti-fragile. Fragile is something that you drop. You take a glass and you drop it on a rock and it breaks. That's fragile. It doesn't have any kind of resilience. Something that's robust is something like sand in a box. You can drop that and nothing's going to happen. It's just sand in a box, right? Anti-fragile is what you really want to aim for. And that makes you stronger as you're tested in life, as you're tested with money, as you're tested in relationships, as you're tested in character. Life is just one great big shit test. Give you a quick peek to my surroundings as I enjoy them before I sign off. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.